Cane rod, you were never any good with money, couldn't even hold a job, and you came home from the Great War with the pips of a captain's rank and a German officer's Luger and no money in the bank. Your family sent you down the coal mine to learn to be captain there, but you didn't stand it very long. You needed the light and the air. You were never any good with money, couldn't even hold a job, not steady enough for the office, not hard enough for the hard. You'd rather be watching the fulmars fly or fishing with your split cane rod. You were never any good with money, couldn't even hold a job. When the Second War came along, you knew what should be done. You would re-enlist to teach young men the booby trap and the gun, and they sent you home to Yorkshire with a crew and a Lewis gun, so you could save your seaside town from the bombers of the Hun. You were never any good with money, couldn't even hold a job, not steady enough for the office, not hard enough for the hard. You'd rather be finding the nightjar's nest or fishing with your split cane rod. You were never any good with money, couldn't even hold a job. When my mother came to your door with a baby in her arms and a big hurt boy just 9 years old, trying to keep her from harm. If you had been a practical man, then you would have been forewarned. You would have seen that it never would work, and I would have never been born. There's no proper work in your seaside town, so we moved here looking for a job. You were storeman at the power station just before I came along, and nobody talked about how you quit, but I know that's what you did. My mother said you were a selfish man, and I was your selfish kid. You were never any good with money, couldn't even hold a job, not steady enough for the office, not hard enough for the hard, and you know it, and it was soon gone. The drummer was a guy called Zach the Cat Gaines, and he was Henry's friend. He was black and in his late 60s at that point. The rest of the guys were younger and white, and Henry and Zach were really close. And they came up to Ithaca, New York to play, and they stayed at my house, which is where this song starts. And Henry and Zach sat on the sofa on their day off, drinking whiskey from a brown paper, a bottle of whiskey in a brown paper bag, which is traditional in the US, you know, and watching the film Mississippi Burning on video on repeat. It was really strange. So that's where this starts. It's called Henry Gray and Zach the Cat. They sat on the sofa all day long, watching Mississippi burning all day long. Mississippi burning all day long. Now, I never saw such a thing in my life, a 32 bullet and a barlow knife lying in my sofa. Big barlow knife. There was a 32 bullet and a barlow knife. Henry Gray and Zach the Cat in the university dining hall, talking about a mule collar hanging on the wall. They're talking about a mule collar to me, I saw a copperhead moccasin bite my daddy, Henry Gray. You know, he said to me, I saw a copperhead moccasin bite my daddy. And Henry Gray says to me, got your black and blue runner and your stingery. Henry Gray, he says to me, he says, all them snakes, man, are out to get me. Henry come from Canada, Louisiana, fought for his country in a foreign land, and he come back home. And what do you know? He's gonna play the piano down in Chicago. He says, got my little 32 in my waistband, don't wanna hurt nobody, but I ain't gonna stand for no ass whooping. Ain't gonna stand, I don't wanna hurt nobody, but I ain't gonna stand for no ass whooping. Zach the cat, they sat on the sofa all day long, watching Mississippi burning all day long. Mississippi burning all day long. Sailed the sea, sail on Billy, sail away. A bold and brave black man was he. Sail on Billy, sail away. Billy come from New York town. Sail on Billy, sail away. And he sailed the oceans all around. Sail on Billy, sail away. Billy Waters sailed the sea. Sail on Billy, sail away. And an able seaman soon was he. Sail on Billy, sail away. And Billy could fiddle and dance and sing. Sail on Billy, sail away. Joined the navy of the king. Sail on Billy, sail away. Served the king for honor and promotion. Gunner on the Ganymede, petty officer on the ocean. But fate struck Billy a cruel blow. Sail on Billy, sail away. Fell from the yards to the deck below. Sail on Billy, sail away. And he broke both legs and more beside. Sail on Billy, sail away. They took him to the surgeon on the tide. Sail on Billy, sail away. They took his left leg at the knee. Sail on Billy, sail away. No further use for the King's Navy. The baby Jesus from inside his mother's womb, he says, bow you down, your tallest trees, that my mother may have some. He says, bow you down, your tallest trees, that my mother may have some. And then bowed down the tallest trees, the low to the ground. Mary, she picked cherries, while Joseph, he stood around. Oh, Mary, she picked cherries, while Joseph, he stood around. When Mary, she took on the son, she laid him on her knee. She says, tell to me, my dearest, what this world will be. Oh, come, tell to me, my dearest, what this world will be. Oh, I shall be as dead, mother, as the stones in the wall, and the stones in the street, mother, they will mourn for me. All the stones in the street, mother, they will mourn for me all. But on Easter Day, mother, my uprising shall be, and the sun and the moon, mother, they will both rise with me. And the sun and the moon, mother, they will both rise with me. Joseph was an old man was he. He courted the Virgin Mary, the Queen of Galilee. Oh, he courted the Virgin Mary, the Queen of Galilee. Bright bedstraw constellations shine among the budding heather and ling, and the jade green berry bushes, the oak eggers are on the wing. The stone chats and the pipits fly in spring lapwings and curlews cry, but there is something missing, there are no dancers in the sky. And the bird completes the skyline, that is clear to see. An empty sky's a heartbreak, so what is it to be? The pale ash grey sky dancer, or this wasteful cruelty? At 15 I saw the falcon fly at Simmons' yacht on the River Wye. Scarce and unexpected then, red treasure in the sky. In mid-Wales 50 years ago, the red kite's beauty lit the snow. Now I might see them every day, falcon on the city cliffs, red kite by the motorway. And the bird completes the skyline, that is clear to see. An empty sky's a heartbreak, so what is it to be? The pearly ring-tailed harrier, or this shooting gallery? And the heathland, it is burning up above the valley towns. The greedy flame consumes the peat, so when the rain comes down, it pours across the moorlands wreck, overwhelms the stream and beck, it bursts the banks of stream and beck, and floods the town again. And the bird completes the skyline, that is clear to see. An empty sky's a heartbreak, so what is it to be? This life-supporting landscape, or this brutal tyranny? is the skyline, that is clear to see. An empty sky's a heartbreak, so what is it to be? The pale ash grey sky dancer, or this wasteful cruelty? Of all womankind, they are always controlled, they're always confined, controlled by their parents until they are wives and a slave to their husbands the rest of their lives. Oh, I am a poor girl, my fortune is bad. I have often been courted by the wagoner's lad. He courted me dearly by night and by day, and now he is loading and going away. Come feed them some hay. Come and sit down beside me as long as you may. My horses ain't hungry, they won't eat your hay. Farewell, pretty Nancy, I'm going away. Your wagon ain't geared up, no whip in your hand. Come and sit down beside me, all at my command. My wagon is geared up, my whip's in my hand. Farewell, pretty Nancy, no longer to stand. For missiles and tanks, there's always the money for generals and banks. There's always the money for new ways to kill, but a limited budget for you when you're ill. Yes, there's always enough for a war, but there's never enough for the poor. Money for tunnels and roads, for opera and ballet, But what about homes for MPs, expenses, fat subsidies? So there's never enough for nurseries, and the well-off, they always take more. So there's never enough for the poor. There's always the money for tests they can pass or fail you for not being white middle class. There's always the goodies for those with most greed. So there's never enough for those in most need. But there's a pay rise if you're on the board. But there's never enough for the poor. Consider how little of life that we know. We bring nothing, take nothing, pass through and go. We are all of us poor when it comes to the night, in need of the darkness, in need of the light. If we learn to want less and love more, there'd be enough for the poor. If we learn to want less and love more, there'd be enough for the poor. For there's more than enough for us all. Mary Hamilton, come down and tell to me what you have done with your own wee babe. I heard and saw weep by thee. I put him in the tiny boat, and I set him on the sea, that he might sink or he might swim, but he'd never come home to me. Come down, Mary Hamilton, come down and go with me. For there is a wedding in Glasgow town, this night we should go and see. Well, she's not put on her robes of black, nor yet her robes of brown, but she's put on her robes of white for to ride into Glasgow town. Into Glasgow town, the city for to see, the bailiff's wife and the provost's wife, they cried, oh, and alas for thee. Well, you need not weep for me, she says, you need not weep for me, for have I not murdered my own wee babe? The gallows I never would see. Oh, little did my mother think, when first she cradled me, of the lands I was to travel in, and the death that I should die. Take off my gown, she and let my petticoat be. Oh, but tie a napkin round my face, for the gallows I would not see. King himself, he looked down with a pitiful eye. Come down, Mary Hamilton, for this night you shall dine with me. Oh, hold your tongue, my sovereign legion, let your folly be. For you are mine to save my life, you'd never have so shamed me. Last night there were 4 Marys, tonight there will be but 3. There was Mary Beaton and Mary Seton and Mary Carmichael and me. There was Mary Beaton and Mary Seton and Mary